There's a Latina that's, want to talk about black and brown relations. And a lot of people have been wanting to have these conversations as of late. And I love these conversations, actually, because some of these conversations are productive. Some of them are, people just kind of spinning the wheels a little bit. But let's go on and play what this Latina has to say. And let's just have a proper response to it.
The tension between the Black and Latino community needs to stop. And we need to be the generation to stop it. Anti-Blackness exists in our community. We know this. Anti-Blackness also exists within the Black community itself. All communities of color struggle with this. And the reason why is what we all have in common. We were all colonized and trained to have a mindset of you versus me for survival. But that ends with us. We need to lead with unity and not division. We have to be the change we want to see. We have to stop pointing the finger in both communities and make the decision that we are going to choose to be united versus divided.
Now, this is why I will say up front, I'm cool with just about any group of people that's cool with me. I know people of all communities, and I get along with people of all communities. I take no issue with no group of people. I really don't personally, because I think that's kind of stupid, to be honest with you. And I just don't have that kind of time to be beefing with people. But you're speaking on an issue and you're not getting deeper into the issue. Yes, you're 100% right. Black Americans and Latinos and Asians and everybody else had dealt with some form of colonization. Of course, we dealt with slavery. Latin America dealt with slavery as well. You have, of course, some of the Caribbean is Latin American. A lot of us was affected by slavery or colonization one way or another, which is true. And in that effect, what was left behind was, yes, anti-Blackness and colorism, in particular in Latin America and also in the Latino communities. If you go back to, remember Nuri Martinez, when she was making those comments, she was talking about black folks and the Oaxacans. That's other Latinos she's talking about. So the issue a lot of times is the colorism. And colorism is deep in Latin America. It's very, very deep. If you look at it, you would not even think black people exist in Latin America. We are heavy in Latin America. You don't see black people on TV a lot in a lot of Spanish language TV and movies unless they're the hired help or the villain or things like that, right? They had this indigenous woman, I forgot the lady's name, some years ago from Mexico, and I think she was on the cover of Vogue, and a lot of them was upset. If you remember the actor that played Namor on the second Black Panther movie, a lot of them in Mexico was upset because he was a representation of Mexico, right, at that time. And they was upset with him because he's dark-skinned, that he wasn't that light-skinned, whiter type of Mexican man that they want to have up front, right? So that's really the core of the issue and really where that come from. So in the homeland, you don't you discriminate against the indigenous people and black people. So then when you immigrate to the United States of America, it continues. You see white is right, black is wrong. So it was kind of easy to get into that. Very, very easy. That's really the simple part of it. So you say that, well, we need to unite and not divide. Well, I would tell you, as black Americans, we did not say, hey, there's a Latino or Latina, let's go ahead and divide with them. For years, we have said we want a black and brown coalition. Everything something happens, we say black and brown people, black and brown, black and brown, black and brown. I mean, tongue twisted saying it, right? We have said this. Last night, we talked about Reverend Jackson leading a march into Mexico back in '84 to talk about the mistreatment of undocumented workers. And none of them were black American he was talking about. Black people have put a lot into standing up for the brown community. We have. But unfortunately, it wasn't reciprocated. That's really what it is. And because it wasn't reciprocated, now white supremacy is attacking you wholesale. I mean, pretty bad. And now some of you say, hey, we need to come together. But it's more steps than, and you mentioned some steps of coming together. But let me, this one sister said something on the video that was the coolest thing I ever heard. She said, if you want to start with black and brown unity, start in the prison first. And I'm like, but then if you know people that have been to prison, the reason why she said that is because more black people and Latinos are in jail than the folks. The Latinos would join with the whites, the Aryans, against black folk. That's what she meant. How is it that you're going to join with the oppressor against black people? Black people have never oppressed anybody. You have gangs over here. That has to be addressed, especially in Southern California, that will racially target black people. That has to be addressed too. And black people have responded to some of this. Black people, of course, some of them responded in ways that I wouldn't respond to it. But some just, go tit for tat. Some go petty. These things have to be talked about at least in your community, ma'am. Now, I know you're Puerto Rican, look like you're Puerto Rican. And I'm not saying that's been the relationship with Puerto Ricans and black people. Yeah, they may have some divide here and there, but it hasn't been like what's going on in L.A. type of thing with Puerto Ricans in New York and things like that. So most, Puerto Ricans and black people kind of grew up together in New York, and they kind of more integrated a little bit more. Definitely, I've seen that myself in New York. But in other places, sometimes it could be an issue. Now, I'm just being 100. My experiences with a lot of Mexicans in Texas, or maybe people from Guatemala or different Latino groups, I've never had a problem with them. The first time I really heard of a big tension was out of California. And I'm like, what? Like, y'all don't get along? And like, no. And then once I learned about everything that happened, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, why? Like, why are they attacking black folks like that? Like, we don't have their homeland messed up. We haven't done anything to anybody. Why are we? And that's what gets a lot of us just really upset as black Americans. So now what you have some people, who say, nah, I'm cool. I don't want no nothing with nobody. I am good. We just gonna work with black Americans, and that's it. We focusing on our lineage. We're gonna focus on lineage-based policies that we can get, because that's the only way we can get reparations. If we focus on lineage-based policies, we can't do it with minority coalitions. That's gonna dilute lineage-based policies that we're trying to fight for. And so we're gonna have to more focus on that. And we should focus on that. We got to get what's definitely ours to our particular lineage with this government. Now, is every black person out here trying to fight with somebody? No. Listen, don't let what people say online means that's everybody in the real world. Because look, I'm in the real world seeing people every day. I go play to the places, the gym, all that. I see people of all communities, and nobody's beefing. Nobody's doing anything. So the divide happens, I think, a lot more politically. The divide happens on the jobs. Let me talk about that. I have not seen black men in particular say, hey, Miguel's over there. Oh, no. We gotta figure out a way to get Miguel fired so I can bring in Tyrone. I've never seen black men do that. But I have seen, ma'am, men of maybe not Puerto Ricans, but men of just the Latino persuasion try to report a black person or whatever to get them fired so they can bring their family in. Like, that causes tension. Why are you messing with another man's job? Okay, if he is doing something, he ain't got no business. What you telling for? Because we see things that Latinos do on the job. We don't say nothing. It's not in our nature to be a snitch. Unless you're doing something that's going to mess up our job. Then we're going to say something. But if you're not doing nothing to mess up our job, we don't say nothing. So that has to be addressed. Okay, why aren't you trying to get the white folks out? But you want to focus on the black man? Those things have to be discussed. I'm talking about a real discussion, right? I've seen these things with my own eyes. Or you remember what George Lopez said, hey, don't park in front of our house or bring a black person home. Why? What did we do as a community to you? But if you bring home a white man, nobody's saying don't park in front of my house, don't bring a white man home. Not say you, ma'am, at all, not referring to you. But there are people who feel that bringing a white person is bettering the race. That is a colonized mind completely. But some of that mindset translate into white is right and black is wrong. And so it's easy for me to divide and attack black people. And some black people are so tired of it. They're just sick of it. Especially some people within my age group and older who've been living a while. Now, the younger people may be a little, it may be a little different. The same thing when we question even black immigrants that came to this country. Why did you divide away from black people? Why did you do that? There was no reason to divide away from black people. We had no issues with Latinos. We didn't. So that's the questions that no one wants to answer or even have a conversation to explain the prison situation, the jobs, all of that. You don't have to be cutthroat toward black folk. Some of you say, well, in LA, the black people attack the vendors and all. I don't agree with nobody attacking nobody. Period. I don't agree with Latinos attacking black. I don't agree with black people attacking Latino. I don't agree with none of that. Realistically, if you look at the numbers, if you're a numbers person, if black people and Latinos are actually on one accord politically, I'm not saying we got to be in each other's face every day, but one accord politically, say, look, it's more of us in this country than them folks. So, hey, we gonna come together politically. We gonna get them out the paint and run the whole yard. There's enough black folks and Latinos in this country to do that. But the problem is, just like, unfortunately, even with some, listen to the word, I'm saying some, they get tired of people writing killing. Phil said this. I said some. I didn't say all. Some people come over and want to divide away from black people. Even in the diaspora, unfortunately. But when we have these conversations, nobody want to engage in these conversations intelligently, not name calling. And we have these conversations. This conversation had nothing to do with ICE. I don't know why. That's also getting on my nerves. Stop bringing up ICE in conversation. We're trying to have conversations with other people. Part of what I do is to have conversations with other people. I have no problem having conversations with Latinos, Asians, Arabs, Indians. We're supposed to have conversation with people. If anything, you want to have a good relation with everybody as much as possible. And living in this country, you're not on an island by yourself. What affects you and what everybody's starting to see it, what's affected us is now affecting them. So whatever affects another group is eventually going to circle back around to us too. Eventually, that is the truth because you live in this country. Now, the ICE situation, what they're doing, that's been happening to us. So it kind of circles back around. Now, the protesting thing, she didn't mention protesting. I'm mentioning it. The protesting thing, no, black people got to rest. We got to rest. We got to figure some things out. We're politically motivated. A lot of us are registered to vote. A lot of us are voting. That's about the most you're going to get out of us right now. We've done our job. Somebody else going to have to pick up the torch and carry it for a little while. Okay? That's really what it is. I don't have no problem having a conversation with anybody. But if you're going to have a conversation about black and brown, let's have it for real. Not, let's let bygones be guys. No. When you trying to, when if a person's even thinking about reconciling a relationship, you got to address all the issues up front that's been around. Address the full issues. Address them. That's the only way you can move forward with anything. If you don't address anything, and if you think you're right, the other person right, you won't acknowledge you're wrong, the other person won't acknowledge that they're wrong. If you won't explain why you thought that a proximity to whiteness was it. Listen, the proximity of whiteness is basically against black people. You can't be around white folk and be around black people like that because we, as a collective, have beef from the plantation, and that beef is not settled. It's not settled, and they're not trying to settle it. So if you with them, you automatically gonna be against us. Period. And some people chose that. They thought it was better to be around them folks until the folks stabbed them in the back. A lot of them feel betrayed by Trump. Oh, I thought he was going to deport the criminals. Like, didn't he, the first time when he came out, he called Mexicans criminals and, not to say another word, violators and all kind of drug people. He was saying that about all Mexicans. And yet you still have Mexicans vote for him? There ain't no way I would vote for somebody if he came out and say black people just criminals, black people this and that. Like, ain't no way we would have voted for, nobody in the black community voted for him. He did that. A lot of people didn't vote for him, but still, he wouldn't have got half of the black vote. Trump got half of the Latino vote in both elections for the most part. Now, more Latinas voted for Kamala Harris than Latino men. But when you break it down in the percentages, it's still kind of about half if you average it out. So that's a conversation that must have. Why is people in your community so wrapped up in white conservatism? And I'm not talking about moderate conservatism. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that Mitt Romney style Republican. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you wrapped up in MAGA, in which MAGA is hella racist toward black folks, Latinos, Asians, and anybody else. And some of y'all really thought that he was only going to lock up criminals when your skin is your criminality. You ain't figured that out? Black people told you that a long time ago. Your skin is your criminality. And I guess y'all didn't understand the memo. You actually believe them what they say. Listen, we know not to believe nothing they say. If they speak in, they lying. And unfortunately, a lot of you are finding out the hard way. So I can have a conversation with you. That's what I do for a living. Some people don't want to have a conversation. I'm cool with the conversation. That's part of what I do. So if you want to have it, let's have that conversation, because it has to be had if you want to have it. Once again, some people don't want to have that conversation. Some people don't want to entertain it. That's fine. They can just go work on lineage-based policies for black Americans. Fight for reparations. Fight for things that we need for our lineage. And they should do that. But the other people like myself who are in this sphere with microphones, let's have those conversations. Let's see where it can go. I'm always open to conversation. That's what I do. But yeah, brothers and sisters, we gotta just lay it out there. We gotta lay it out there, because I personally keep hearing all these calls for unity, but I'm at a point like, okay, let's have a conversation now, because we're not gonna just keep responding to people. Let's go on and say, hey, one person in particular reached out to me. I told her, hey, you can come on, let's talk about it. And if others reach out, I'll tell them the exact same thing.